How are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to see you.
Good. You too. Thank you for joining us. Really looking forward to hearing from you today.
Thank you.
Guys, this is Aminat. Do you want to give them an introduction of kind of who you are, what you do?
Hey guys, my name is Aminat Sule. I am a barrister student. I am also a political activist, so I do work here and also internationally. So I work with organizations such as the Commonwealth, the UN, and also smaller organizations within the UK, such as the Damilola Taylor Trust and 2020 Change. So that is a bit about me.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, where did we start? Because, girl, there's a few things that we have to dig in with you. Should we start with where you started in all of this? What was your kind of passion and drive behind wanting to get into kind of this activist movement and politics? Where did that all come from?
I think the more international politics side kind of came from like my first, yeah, Supreme Court soon. um, my first visit to Nigeria. So that was like in 2005, and I had so many questions like in regards to why it was like the way it was. So like why the system was bad, why the roads was bad, and at that time I was such a young child and I was so inquisitive and I had so many questions and I felt like no one was best placed to answer those questions.
Right.
So coming back to London, I was just like, okay, I need to do better. I need to do different. I need to like get involved in these projects that can help me to put myself in a position where I can help people. So I think that was kind of when that conscious decision came about.
Awesome. And so you've always had an inquisitive mind, and you
Yeah.
said to yourself, right, do you know what? I'm going to put myself in a position where maybe there's one day a young girl's going to ask me, how comes this is a certain way, or why is this a certain way? And you wanted to position yourself to be in a place where you can say, actually, it's because, and kind of inform and change that narrative.
Yeah.
What steps did you take to enter that realm and avenue of, because it's not standard, in school there's not really a route or a path that you can take to say I'm going to step into politics, not early years anyway. So what
Yeah.
route did you take to kind of dabble into that field?
So I think like my first political encounter was like my Lambeth Youth Mayor election. So I ran for Youth Mayor of Lambeth,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like on the Youth Advisory Board for Lambeth, and then I was like mingling with loads of councillors, and I started analysing bids. And we're talking about like the age of 11, 12, 13. I had started doing that
Wow,
stuff.
early.
Yeah, yeah. So from early, so and then I think like my political like ambitions kind of continued to grow. And then I was exposed to a lot more things, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
opportunities. But I think in general, I've just always, if I want something, I'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I genuinely,
Just
genuinely
have
want
that
something,
mind, the drive.
yeah,
You want it, you get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Do you have like little um affirmations or certain activities you carry out to get from that manifestation, I want this, to I'm achieving this? Can you share
Yeah.
little gems or tips with the people?
Yeah, I definitely do. So I'm a crybaby, so I cry about everything. So when something is hard, the first thing I'm gonna do, I promise you, is I'm gonna cry. And then I'm for real, I'm gonna cry. And then once I'm finished crying, I
Yeah.
get it done. So
Okay.
for me, it's like once you've overcome the fact that it's hard, I think that sometimes we put imaginary boundaries in our mind, and then we believe those imaginary boundaries, and they stop us from being able to excel and proceed in life. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a goal, and then someone will tell you that goal's too big, it's not achievable. And then you start to tell yourself that it's not achievable, and then your actions will start to continue. So it's words, then actions.
Yeah.
So once you find yourself in a position like that, you need to quickly change your narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, it's going to be hard. You've already accepted the fact that it's going to be hard. So now what do you do moving forward? Do you dwell in the fact that it's going to be hard, or do you get going? So I think for me, yeah, I think for me, like when people tell me things are not possible, I just accept that, okay, it's not that it's not possible, it's that it's hard. So once I've established in my mind that it's hard, when the challenges are coming, I've already prepared my mind mentally for the idea that something is hard. So that excuse doesn't no longer come on my journey because I've already mentally prepared myself. So all the obstacles that come, it's just like, okay, how do I overcome this? What do I need to do? My steps are more proactive.
Yeah.
So that's how I've kind of trained my mind to be personally.
That is the right, like, it is all in the mindset, and that is literally the right outlook. That is the key. It's actually very much in line with, I don't know if you've ever read a book, The Secret.
Yeah.
That is literally like the philosophy. You just put your mind in a certain place, you believe it will happen, and it will happen. And I think that you're right. A lot of, sometimes it's not even an excuse. Some people genuinely don't believe they are capable of achieving certain things. And it is simply, like you said, that barrier in your mind. And as soon as you like hop that barrier, the possibilities are endless. And it's amazing to see someone like yourself who has actually made a conscious decision and effort to say, right, I don't care how many barriers I come across, I'm going to jump them. One by one, jump them, I'm going to jump them. So you said you started from the age of 11, 12, 13. What sort of role did your parents play in helping you, you know, walk towards these goals, or a mentor or any help? How did you get help at that age?
I think like so I grew up in a very typical African household, like two strict African parents, just a bog standard African household really. And but one thing that my dad always taught me and will stay with me forever is that he would always tell me that everybody has a price, basically. So you have to be able to compensate for people's prices. So when someone says no, there's something that you can do for that no to become a yes. So that might be emotional, it might be financial, but there's something that you can offer them for them to change their response almost 95% of the time. So I've literally ran my whole life with that mentality. So once I get a no, I'm like, okay, I need to change my position to put myself in a position where you're going to have to say yes to me. And how do you say yes to me? I need to analyze what you need that I can offer you so we can work together. So I think sometimes a lot of people, especially like when you know, people have made it in life, what you find is that people that are successful, people are always going to them, asking them for things all the time. So you go to a networking event and then you see the main speaker, you usually find that people are offering their business cards, or, oh, how can we work together? Or can you mentor me? And these are the things that they get on a repeat basis. So I think, so I think what you need to do as an individual who's trying to be a high flyer is you need to put yourself in a position where you have something to offer. You need to be that marketable person. How do you make yourself marketable? You build on your skill, you build on your, you know, on your talent. There's only one you, do you understand? So nobody can be, so no one can be you. No one can run the purpose platform. Only you are capable of running the purpose platform. And I think, honestly, seriously, and that is your gift, and that is what makes you different from everybody else in your industry. And I think that people need to hone in on that, on their gift. You know, people that have made it are normal people just like me and you. So with that being said, it's within you. It's 100% possible.
That is a word. Perfectly delivered. Perfectly delivered. So let's kind of go ahead now from your age 11, 12. You know in your heart what you want to do. And do you know what I love? Usually at the age of 11, 12, we're like, I want to be a nurse or a midwife or a firefighter. And then by the time you get to 16, 17, you change your direction or your dreams. You stuck with that same dream from a child when you saw that there was a gap or something missing that stayed on your heart. And even throughout your adolescent years, you were like, do you know what? This is still what I want to do. So when you went to, let's say, college, uni, well, you're in uni now, right?
Yes, I've graduated from uni. I'm in bar school now.
Awesome. Of course. Wait, let's not just slag over that. Let's not just slag. Talk us through, because I was really keen to get you on here because you are a change maker. You are a change maker and you are an advocate for change. You are doing the work, but you are not necessarily looked at or considered an entrepreneur. And it's not necessary for you to be considered that because you're a purpose seeker. and you're walking in your purpose. And that is why I was really keen to get you on here and sort of discuss not your average entrepreneur. Do you feel like you get enough recognition for the work you're doing because you're not considered an entrepreneur, so to speak?
To be honest, I think that the recognition thing is not something that I chase at all. So recognition isn't my drive. And I feel like with entrepreneurs, the difference is that recognition is good for them because of the outputs that they need to receive. So recognition helps them to sell, for example. But because what my concern is like, for example, my main priorities are creating opportunities for young people in Africa, creating opportunities for young people in the UK, and doing that from a political point of view. Eventually, I will receive that. Do you understand? Because that is that is what my satisfaction is.
Once those changes are being made, you're going to be recognised for the changes you're making or the opportunities you're creating within your work. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We were talking about uni, so I'm going to take 2 steps back. You're in the bar. Is it in the bar, taking the bar, doing the bar?
Yes, I'm undertaking the bar at the moment. So I'm basically in bar school. Yeah.
Right. Now, talk us through how you are able to juggle, because law is no joke. How are you able to juggle your studies, this dream you have, and the work you're doing, because you are on the ground doing the work, which we will get into shortly. How are you able to juggle all of your responsibilities?
I think that once you have your end goal in mind, you are persistent on that end goal and getting there. And I feel like for me, I've been lucky enough to be exposed to people who have like done amazing things, like mind-blowing things. Like I've been exposed to world leaders. Like, so for me, I think that when I've seen their output, like the question you're asking me about how, to be honest, I can't tell you how, because I don't really know how. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I do it. And people ask me all the time how. I can't tell you how, but I've seen other people do it and they do it. And everyone asks them how. And a lot of the time, they just tell you the cliche answer, hard work. And genuinely, once you see, I think for me, it's like, I just don't want to suffer as well. Like me and suffering, we just don't go. We just, it's not in my, it's just not in my DNA. It's not in my format. And I think because of that, I feel like my end goal is like, no, I need to do this because I need to have this. I need to do this because I want to have this. So I think that's probably my main drive in making it all happen, really.
So discipline to a certain extent, because you know it has to be done and you do it. You don't make excuses. That's awesome. I'm going to get into a couple of these comments and then we're going to talk about the work that you've been doing on the ground with Hope 2020 and the Damilola Taylor Initiative. So we've got, hey guys, I see you. Supreme Court soon. Yes, Kaya Knitwear. We got thumbs up. We got Alicia in the house. She's agreeing. She got hands in the air. Shed's official. Hi, thanks for joining us. A change agent and all-round boss babe. Yes to that. Breenalicious in the house, waving. Hey, Breenalicious and Sir Fizz. We got She Pretty. We got some admirers in here. Send your brand prices through. Now, joking.
No, send them.
Send it. Both beautiful queens. Oh, thank you. Juggling and killing it. We've got some amens in here. Love struck faces in here. No, come to this life to stuff up. Black girl magic. That's how. See my babe. Amazing. We've got loads of love in here. Thanks for the love, guys. Any questions?
Thank you, guys.
For Aminat in here, please do drop them through. I will get through all your comments and all your questions. Aminat, let's talk a bit about the Hope 2020 initiative that you're part of and the Damilola Taylor Trust. Start where you wish to start.
Okay, so Hope 2020 is a campaign, and it is to promote hope stories within the UK and internationally all over the world. A lot of people may know about Damilola Taylor. He was a young boy who migrated from Nigeria. So you can imagine why this is even closer to home for me. and he was recklessly murdered at the age of 7, and he had an aspiration to be a doctor, and that was cut short. So this is going to be the 20th year, the 20th anniversary, and we are going to celebrate hope stories across the whole world. I think that 2020 has been a very challenging year for every single person at some point. And for that reason, I think it's more important to share hope and to share light and to share positive stories. And that is what the Hope 2020 campaign will do. We have also been granted the 7th of December by Boris Johnson as the National Hope Day. So that will continue to be the Hope Day forevermore, and it will go down in legacy as 7th of December. So yeah, that's also. Thank you. So that's what we're working on. Thank you.
December 7th.
Yeah, the 7th of December.
The 7th
Day
of
Hope.
December is National Hope Day. So that is actually like a thing, National Hope Day. And the focus on that, just in case you guys have missed it, is almost changing the narrative. So often we see, especially Black people, people of colour, being portrayed in the media for a stabbing or a shooting or something negative. However, you are shifting that narrative and really outputting hope, dreams, people's aspirations and ambitions, and showing people who have also been able to achieve those things to give hope. Is that?
You're exactly there. Yeah, awesome. You're there.
Awesome. And will there be anything like is the word a commemoration on the 7th of December? Anything that's happening on that day specifically to mark the initiative?
Yeah. So we're gonna have like a National Hope Day. So that's gonna be like a mega launch, and the campaign is gonna go out on social media, face to face. Currently, we've got hope stories at the moment being put up on the website. We're gonna have Hope 2020 billboards all around London as well, which is gonna be really, really good. Awesome. And see people's hope stories like displayed around London. So I think that's something else that's really fantastic, that is gonna be coming from the Hope campaign.
Amazing. What we'll do as well is drop the handles. I should have actually pinned your handle on here. We will shortly. We'll drop all the handles in the uploads and information so people are able to find that as well. That is super positive. And then the Damilola Taylor Trust, is that combined? So the Hope 2020 initiative is like an arm off of the Damilola Taylor Trust and the movement on that end?
Yeah, so Damilola Taylor Trust is the organisation that has pioneered the Hope 2020 campaign. And then we're working with several other organisations, including the Metropolitan Police, the Co-op, the Co-op, Metropolitan Police, and just there's about 20 organisations that we're working with. Rio Ferdinand Foundation. Rio Ferdinand is on board as well as one of the key players. So we've got support from, everyone. The Hope Collective is actually in the comments at the moment. I see you guys.
Let me pin their comment.
So it's good to have them in the house right now as well. But so that's the purpose of the campaign, really.
Amazing. Guys, that comment is pinned, so definitely head over to the Hope Collective. That's an amazing initiative. Anyway, the Purpose platform is able to support you and assist you in that as well. We are here.
Thank you.
In terms of exposure, because you are, let me reduce these comments slightly. You are the voice to represent a lot of these things, and you have been featured on platforms such as ITV to spread that message. How do you find dealing with the media and getting the message out there and received in the way you want it to be received? I hope that question makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So me in the media, like I'm not like a social media heavy person. Like ideally I would just post content like of lifestyle, me enjoying myself, one picture there, one
because
picture
you didn't come to suffer.
I didn't come to this life to suffer, as I mentioned. It's very key in this message. But no, aside from that, on a more serious note, I think the media is a lovely platform, and you find, especially with young people, similar to the Piers Morgan interview that I did, he tried to tie in Black Lives Matter with the death of Damilola Taylor, there was no correlation in
and you
that.
handled that impeccably, by the way.
Thank you. But I think that is a clear example of the mess of trying to keep the message consistent.
Mhm.
I think there's so much bad press around young people, not just in the UK, but in Africa as well.
Mhm.
There's a stigma around young people, and I think that that stigma needs to be broken. And having positive stories being put out there, as much as more than a negative story, sorry, will create change eventually, because the younger generation are looking up and they're seeing positive stories rather than every single other newspaper that you see. Okay, there's a knife crime at the front of it. The things that make the front page should not be making the front
The
page.
front page, exactly.
I think that's something that we have to combat, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Similarly with our history, like this month in particular, I've just been kind of dabbling into Black inventors and things like that. And there are so many Black inventors, like the guy who invented the super soaker or automatic elevator doors and the three signal traffic lights. These were all invented by Black people, but all you
Yeah,
actually hear about Black history is slavery, 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 slavery. You don't actually realize there was so much greatness out there. So there's so many people who haven't been privy to this information who think our history is just slavery. And then that's what the next generation or so would think. Our history is just knife crime and gun crime. And it's not.
exactly.
So I love what you're doing because it will help to change the narrative.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
I'm going to get
Thank
into a
you.
couple of these comments. I saw loads of love in here. Okay, we've got loads of love strucks and queens. Love strucks, love strucks. Congratulations, we've got in here. We've got some Nigerian flags flowing in here. Lots of love, heaps of love. Kisses, love strucks, waves, amazing. Awesome. We've got a question as well. What is your vision for Nigerian politics?
What is my vision for Nigerian politics? I think my vision for Nigerian politics, that question is so big and it's so hard to dissect. But
Mm-hmm.
I can answer what my vision for Nigeria is, to hopefully have Nigeria compete against its other parties. So I think that gradually we're starting to see loads of people are going back to Africa. Every December, like if it's Ghana, if it's Nigeria, if it's Sierra
Yeah.
Leone, but everyone is going back to the motherland every single December. So in comparison to when I was in school, where people would not tell their friends that they're going back to Africa,
Or even admit that they're African.
yeah, that even admit that,
It real.
exactly. Like in the UK, it was a taboo. Like if you was in when I went to school, anyways, like you wouldn't openly say you're Nigerian. I did because I was not ashamed, but like people would, cover up and say that they're from other races that was more accepted in a sense. So now that we can see that people are migrating back, I just hope that at some point in, within the next 10 years that, our economy has strengthened, there's more opportunities. A lot of youths in Nigeria have got this idea that it is better outside of Nigeria, which to some extent it is because of the system. But I feel like we need to create a government that retains its people and also creates opportunity to, rather than expat international staff, but bring back diasporans from all over the world who are Nigerian to come back and develop that economy. So those are some of my views and hopes. And hopefully with, the right people on board and, the right opportunities, those things will start to flourish over the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And even as you speak, how would you, let me try and pose this question so it makes sense. You are very educated, clued up, and have a lot of information with respect to politics and Nigerian politics. And when you speak, it is delivered that way, in full, properly. We have all the information that you're giving us. For someone who is not privy to politics or might not have as much knowledge in the world, or maybe don't understand entirely what your vision is, goal is, or what is going on as to why you're doing what you're doing, where would you direct them? How can we get more political knowledge? Where can we get the information from? How can we understand your mission and your goal more?
I think to understand my mission and my goal more, you have to follow me closely and to see like what I get up to and what I do. I feel like one thing about me is that I'm very transparent with my journey. So I put up all the lows. I am not, and I think with me, like several times in the past, people have said, "Oh, you're an influencer," and I'm like, "No, I'm not an
Yeah.
influencer, mate," because I feel like with me, I'm very like, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and this is how I've been able to achieve this. I've done X, Y, and Z to get here. I think if you want to follow my journey personally, I've got my professional Twitter, which is Aminat Sule, and I tweet like politics stuff and things to do with Nigeria and politics within the UK as well. So you can follow that. My Instagram, some of my stories sometimes are related to that, and also enjoyment because I did not come to what?
Suffer.
There we go. So yeah, there's a bit on that as well. And also like there are websites, there's the Guardian Nigeria that have updates in regards to Nigerian politics, Punch Nigeria as well, Bloomberg Africa. So if you kind of want to get like a bit of a political insight, those are a few key things to look at.
That they can tap into. Because I think that's really important because the work that you're doing is important work. And you're okay over there?
Sorry. Yeah.
The work that you're doing is important work. And it's really important to be understood because I know that often is not. Politics is something that is highly slept on. It's something that we will deal with the consequences, but we are not privy or involved or following the process. So there's a process in politics that goes on. And when that process is going on, I find that everyone's in slumber, no one worries until then there's an announcement, this is changing, that's changing. And then you're like, do you know what I mean? As opposed to following that journey and knowing where to get that information from. So that's awesome. And that is another reason why I definitely wanted to have you on the show because, you okay?
Yeah, I was going to say something. You know, on that point of politics, I think that people put politics in the same bracket as they put like finance. Like it just sounds so scary. Like, oh, politics is just it. And really and truly, politics is just conversation. The conversations that you have that are the controversial topic is an element of politics. Me and you disputing a view is an element of politics. And I think that there's things that are happening in our everyday lives that if we don't become vocal about, will remain the same. So I think that a lot of the time, especially in this generation, we've become what I like to call social media politicians, where we're very, very active online and everyone's got a view to express, but we're not actually taking active steps. And for me, it's like this generation, we have it so easy in comparison to the generations of our parents. In regards to resources, accessibility, what is out there, there's so much more. So I think that we need to actually use our voices and use our platforms to do the right things. Like, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter thing that happened this year, and that was something that was almost slept on for several years, and the Black Lives Matter campaign was able to wake us up to some harsh realities. So I think that we need to actually stop shying away from the titles that are out there. Politics, it's an industry, it's a profession, but once you strip it all down, it's just conversation. And I think that people need to be aware of that, and that's how people become more comfortable, you know, getting involved in it.
A lot of people in here saying, well said, 100, claps in here. It's true. I'm definitely on board with you with that. I would maybe even say just having those conversations because for instance, your groups of friends, do you find that you get around your groups of friends and they're ready and willing to have those conversations about politics? Does it come naturally or is it something you have to enforce? Do you have different groups of friends that you share different types of conversation with? How do you navigate? Because it's important to be surrounded by the right people to even have those conversations. So how do you navigate socially to make sure that you've got the right people in your social circle?
One thing about me is I'm very compartmentalized with my friends, and all of my friends will tell you this, that I have friends for specific things, and I've got lifelong friends. So my lifelong friends are like my career friends and people that I've known for a long time, and I see myself doing life with them. And then I have what you call institutional friends. So friends that you may meet in an institution, your friends, your purpose is to serve we're to serve each other during this period, but you may not necessarily be my lifelong friend. And I think, you know, with certain friendship groups, I think it just kind of depends on the level of knowledge and intellect within that friendship group that you can share thus far, and the concerns that affect that friendship group. So, for example, my friends, some of my friends that are solicitors and lawyers, they may be more affected by certain political policies than my other friends who are not within those professions. So I think it kind of depends on what profession you're in, what walk of life you're in, that determines what political issues affect you directly. So I try to kind of harness my political thoughts depending on what issues that they're currently going through. Yeah.
That's smart. Very organized. What are your top, if you were to give like us 3 tips on staying organized and staying focused, because we can see here you're very focused. You have a mission, you write it down, you achieve it. You have a few friends, you're like, you to the left, you to the right, you to the center. This is what we're going to talk about today. What 3 tips can you give anyone watching who maybe feels like, do you know what, my life is a bit of a mess right now. I have so much in my mind, but I don't know how to dissect it and make it from a vision to a reality. What 3 tips would you give that person?
I think the first question I always ask myself is, do you want to suffer? Like, you actually have to, no, seriously. I have seen people suffer and I don't want to be one of them. And I think that's and when I say I don't want to suffer, I mean, I don't even think that is that I don't want to suffer. I just want to be able to give my children everything. Like, I like the idea of being able to give my children, you know, you kind of see that there's the debates that they have online. Oh, you know, why should your child be living under your roof at 25? And if honestly, I want to be able to give my child to be able to live under my roof at 25 and save. And I think for me, it's more like futuristic plans, like the life that I want to be able to live and what I want to be able to give my future children. So I think that's one of like my key drives, that no, I have to do this. I don't even have a choice. Like,
so in essence, is remember your why.
Yeah.
Focus on it and remember your why.
Yeah, literally. Your why has to be, you need to figure out what your why is. You need to figure out what makes you shake, like what scares you. Because suffering actually scares me. Like, I don't think you understand it. That me and suffering, it's just not in my genetics, it's not in my DNA. Like, when God made me, he said, you can't suffer. You know, some people, they can withhold, I don't like stress. No. So I'm just one of those people that I don't like stress. Me and stress, we don't do well. Like, so I think like that is probably one of my main drives. And then another thing that I think is a really good tip is that come to terms with the situation. So I think that people, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, people lament on the fact that it is hard and they get stuck at that hurdle that it is hard. But what you need to do is you need to let that point of difficulty or that thought that makes things seem unachievable for you, you need to get rid of that thought and you need to proceed. Because once you've proceeded past that step, everything else becomes easier because you're no longer consumed with the idea of how difficult it's going to be. Like, I probably spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes crying about how hard it is. And then literally straight after I finish crying about, I got to go. Yeah, I have to get to work because no matter, even if I cry or I don't cry, it's still going to be hard. Do you understand? So now it's like, okay, what do I do next to make it easier for me? What do I do next to make it more achievable? So I think those are now the questions that I ask myself. And then don't take no for an answer. No, like, genuinely don't take no for an answer. Sometimes people say no. You need to understand why there has been a no. You need to understand, what can I do to put myself in a better position to make myself more marketable for you to say yes. I think a lot of people get discouraged at no. You can't get discouraged at no. If they say no, you need to put them in a position to say yes. And how do you put them in a position to say yes? You know that you're the best person to do the job, or to start that business, or to do what you want to do. Only you has that calling to be able to do that. Like, God made only one of you. So the fact that they've said no to you, it's just because they don't realize who you are. So you need to demonstrate. or
Yeah.
what you offer. So you need to demonstrate why you can offer what you have to offer. You need to demonstrate why you are the best person and why you're best fit. So I think those are the things, the 3 tips that I would give people is that figure out your why. And then also don't take no for an answer. And just be persistent, be consistent. Everything that you dreamed of is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Just off the back of your don't take no for an answer, I worked in property for a long time, and my director said something that always stuck with me, because it's property is very much negotiation, and there's a lot of no's in property anyway. There was that cold
Yeah,
calling, everything involved. It's a glorified sales job basically.
yeah,
And my director always said persistence paralyzes resistance, and I have literally lived by that. I think I've anyway always been like that. Like even with my friends, I'll be like, "Do you want to go in?" I'll be like, "I'm not sure," and I'm like, "I'm not taking a no." Like just naturally, I've always been that person to like give that little extra push and then convince someone without even like realizing that it was the persistence. But when you actually consciously practice that and just keep a note of that, persistence paralyzes resistance. Ask again. If you get a
yeah,
no, go like you said, go back to the drawing board, find out why they said no. Ask again. It doesn't even have to be immediately or next week. You might reach out to someone, they're not ready for you right now, or maybe you're not on a certain level as to where they need you to be for them to work with you. In a year's time, go ask again. Like
yeah,
once they do what you said, figure out why you had that no, and then work on that why they've had that no. Persistence, go again. Don't be afraid to go again. Ask again. And that's what makes the best stories. I remember watching an interview with Denzel Washington and Jamie Foxx. And
yeah,
Jamie Foxx said he went to a show once and he saw Denzel Washington. And this is before Jamie Foxx had like buzzed properly. So he literally went up to Denzel Washington to say like, "Oh hey, like I'm a big fan of your work." And Denzel Washington was like, "Wait, back up," and literally like put his arm on Jamie Foxx's neck, like, "Calm down." He was like, "You were like to me, calm down, step back." And now they're sitting on a sofa. Jamie Foxx is interviewing Denzel Washington. So it just goes to show what a full circle moment that was. And
yeah,
timing, literally just timing. Like, don't be discouraged. Don't think, "Oh, I'm not good enough." Just be like, okay, you're not aware of what I'm capable of or what I'm doing or what I'm offering yet, but you will be. And I'll
yeah.
be back.
And similar to what you said as well, I think one thing that I didn't mention that I always do is sometimes your inner self will tell you there's an idea, someone, if you speak to small-minded people, you're going to get small results. So the moment someone tells you this idea is not possible, it is too big, you hold that idea and you run with it. Whatever they've told you is not possible. Whatever they've told you is too big, it's possible. The fact that they've said it's too big, that means it's wowing them, it's blowing their mind that you could even think of this. So
Yep.
make sure you go out there and you execute it, because that's what separates the 90% away from the 10%, because they've already made up their mind that you've told me that this is too big, I'm going to go and 100% do it. And I feel like that's where it comes to you. Now it comes down to your friendship groups as to how successful you're going to be, because you have certain conversations with certain people and they'll tell you that it's not possible. Or you, for example, you might start a makeup business, and then their big scale of the makeup business will be, "Oh yeah, do a training session." Whereas another big person scale is, "Okay, actually, how do we get you into these big stores selling your own product?" So I think that depending on the conversations that you have with people are really, really important. You need to think the largest scale. When you start a business, you need to be looking at the greatest person in your industry. So if it for example, if you're starting a clothing line, you need to be looking at the likes of Gucci and how they do things. You need to be looking at the likes of Prada and all of these large designer brands and how they do things. You should not be comparing yourself to people who are similar to you,
Right.
from similar backgrounds to you. That I don't compare myself to people that are from similar backgrounds to me. I don't compare myself to
And you know
people.
what? I would even say off the back of that, don't even compare yourself, period.
Yeah,
When you are looking at larger brands or people who are doing what you or where you aspire to be or exceed, look at it from an inspirational standpoint, or a like,
Yeah.
or a like, this is possible standpoint. Like, you see, when I see people getting certain opportunities or doing certain things, I never compare or think, oh, why did I'm like, oh, that's possible, yeah. Like, I feel like, okay, if they've been able to do it or they've been able to get that opportunity, it means that opportunity exists. If that's something I
Yeah.
want, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you have to look
Yeah.
at, if Gucci sold 100 billion whatever in 10 years, like whatever it is, I'm like, that's possible. Okay, then that's how you do your chasing and you're setting your goals, because you know it's possible. You can't look like, oh, they've got that opportunity, or why did they get it? I'm never gonna get something like that. That is just a complete 360. Like, no, it's all on the outlook and the way you view a situation as to what you will get out of the situation. And if God gave you the vision, he will give you the tools. I said this before. I think I might have put a tweet out or something. That, I think it was Steve Harvey said, he said, everything started off as a vision. Everything started off as a thought. Someone was driving somewhere one day and said, this is too long. I need to build a plane. Someone was on the phone one day and said, I don't want to be walking around with this cord anymore, and built a mobile phone. Everything starts off as a thought. So that is key. Super important. I'm rambling, child.
Girl, everything you're saying is relevant. Just two books that I've read recently that I feel like I didn't read it. I don't like reading. I listened to on Audible. One is by it's by 50 Cent. It's called Hustle Hard, Hustle Smarter. And the other one is by Charlemagne the God. It's amazing. It is amazing. That is my reference point. I find myself in situations, and I go back and I say, what did 50 say again? So that book is amazing. And also Black Privilege by Charlemagne the God. And Charlemagne the God came up with the analogy, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Put the weed in the bag. Put the weed in the bag. Put the weed in the bag. So, okay, your face is like, what the hell? Okay, let me rein it in. Let me rein it in. So basically, the idea that, for example, when you're from the streets or you do drugs, your first job is to bag the weed, put the weed in the bag. And that is what the first job you have to do is, and that is your sole job. So if you're, for example, someone that you're trying to make it up in the ladder, you need to serve first. Like, you genuinely need to serve first. And I think the mistake that some people do, and, I've made this mistake before, when you're someone that is so goal driven and you are someone that you want to go so far in life, so desperately, you forget your purpose and what you're actually supposed to be doing. So, for example, if you're supposed to be interning somewhere, your job there is to intern. Your job is not to push your own career, your career narratives, because what happens is sometimes you find interns in certain positions in life, in anything that you're interning in. We're all students of life. Sometimes you put your own agenda before the agenda that you're actually supposed to be completing. So your own agenda should always be in the back of your mind, but you shouldn't compromise the agenda of what you're supposed to be doing now. Because what happens is people don't want to help you because you're not completing the job you're supposed to do now well enough. Exactly. So you're not putting the weed in the bag. I've hired you to put the weed in the bag, so put the weed in the bag. So literally,
there we go. Look at that, bro.
Yeah, that is it. So
okay.
Literally,
I didn't even know we were still on the same analogy.
Yeah.
So I get it. Do what it is that you're supposed to be doing to get where you want to get. Or do what it is that you have to do to get where you want to get.
Exactly.
That's powerful. So Charlemagne the God, what was the book called?
Black Privilege.
Black Privilege. And then you've got 50
Cent, Hustle Hard, Hustle Smarter.
Hustle Hard, Hustle Smarter. Guys, make a note of those books. Aminat, before you leave us, I want to ask you, what has been your proudest moment to date?
What has been my proudest moment to date? I think I don't think there's a moment, but I think for me, watching everything that I've said manifest, like sometimes I feel like things are not going well for me. And then I have to kind of look back and be like, wow, but I prayed to be here though. Like I actually prayed to be here. So I think, you know, like the position that I am in now, I'm just so grateful to God and God alone, because without him, nothing would have been possible. So I think I'm just so grateful for where I am in my life now. The fact that I'm able to kind of be that person that people come to in my community for advice, whether or not that's legal advice, whether or not that's political advice. So I think that, you know, I feel like I'm walking in my purpose now. So I'm really, really like thankful to God, and I really, really appreciate God's blessings over my life in that. Um, Last tip that I'm gonna leave before I go is to write down your thoughts as to where you are and what your prayers are. So I feel like when I make it, there's a journal that I have, and I'm gonna go back through that journal and I'm gonna read every page, because there's certain times where I've literally cried and prayed for certain things, and then I've seen those things manifest. But sometimes when you make it, you forget the cries that you cried before. So in your current situation, you start crying and you kind of feel like, oh my God, when's it gonna happen? But you almost forget where you was. So I think like make sure you journal every part of your journey, like write it down as reference points. So when things get hard, you can refer to them.
Refer back to it. What I say, look back to see how far you've come. Don't focus on how far you have yet to go. Because when you change that focus to look back at how far you've come, it just, instead of like dissatisfaction, you instantly start to feel gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. Let me just read the last of these comments. So we got some thumbs up in here, 100s, well said. More thumbs up. We got the laughing faces about your separation. 100 thumbs up. Gems, 100. Awesome. Aminat, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. If the people want to find you, where can they find you? What are your social handles?
My social handle is Aminat Sule _ on Instagram and Aminat Sule _ on Twitter. Don't follow my private account. All you're gonna see is crying. I'm crying because it's my period. So you're not gonna find anything useful there. But my professional account has definitely got useful tips. So definitely follow that one. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. What you're doing is absolutely amazing. And I just pray that God gives you the strength to continue. This conversation has been inspiring for me as well. And I just want to thank you again for inviting me onto your platform. I really appreciate it.
Huge love to you, and love to you
Thank
guys for
you.
tuning in. Thank you so much. Aminat, have a lovely evening. You guys have a lovely evening, and we will catch up soon.
Bye.
Bye.